Boccaccio, first day of the Decameron and the 8th story of the first day. I shall begin with the introduction. Next to Philostrato was sitting Loretta, who, knowing that she was expected to speak, without waiting to be bidden, allowed the applause for Bergamino's cleverness to subside, then gracefully began as follows. The previous story, dear friends, implants in me a desire to tell you how, in similar fashion, and not without fruitful effects, a worthy courtier derided the covetous habits of a very rich merchant. Although the burden of my tale is similar to the last, that is no reason for you to find it less agreeable, when you consider how much good eventually came of it. Here begins the story. In Genoa, then a long time ago, there lived a gentleman called Ermino de Grimaldi. Now, there is a Grimaldi family. Ermino is a made-up member of a real family, who was generally acknowledged on account of his vast wealth and huge estates to be by far the richest citizen of Italy in his day. Not only was he richer than any man in Italy, he was incomparably greedier and more tight-fisted than every other grasper or miser in the whole wide world, for he would entertain on a shoestring, and in contrast to normal habits of the Genoese, who are wont to dress in the height of fashion, he would sooner go about in rags than spend any money on his personal appearance. Nor was his attitude to food or drink any different. It was therefore not surprising that he had lost the surname of Grimaldi and was simply known to one and all as Ermino Skinflint. Now, it so happened that whilst this fellow was spending not a penny, but busily increasing his fortune, there arrived in Genoa a worthy courtier, Guiglielmo Borsiere by name. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Who was refined of manner and eloquent of tongue, although different from the courtiers of today. For, to the eternal shame of those who nowadays lay claim, despite their corrupt and graceful habits, to the title and distinction of lords and gentlemen, our modern courtiers are better described as asses, brought up not in any court, but on the dung heap of all the scum of earth's iniquities. In former times, their function usually consisted, and all their efforts were expended, in making peace whenever disputes or conflicts arose between two nobles, negotiating treaties of marriage, friendship, or alliance, restoring tired minds and amusing the courts with fine and graceful witticism, and censoring the failures of miscreants and pungent fatherly strictures, all of which they would do for the slenderest of rewards, whereas nowadays they spend the whole of their time in exchanging scandal with each other, sowing discord, describing acts of lewdness and rivalry, or worse still, practicing them in the presence of gentlemen. Or else they will justify or falsely accuse one another of wicked, disgusting, and disreputable conduct, and entice noble spirits with false endearments to do what is evil and sinful. And a man who is held in the greatest esteem, who is most highly honored and richly rewarded by our base and wretched nobles, is the one whose speech and actions are the most reprehensible, all of which is greatly and culpably to the shame of the modern world, and proves very clearly that the present generation has been stripped of all the virtues and left to wallow abjectly in a cesspit of vices. That's some pretty strong social commentary by Boccaccio of the courtiers of his time. People criticizing the people of their time is timeless. Anyway, to return to what I had begun to say before my righteous anger carried me somewhat further astray than I had intended, the aforesaid Guiglielmo received a warm and ready welcome from all the best families in Genoa, and after he had spent a number of days in the city and listened to several accounts of Ermino's greed and miserliness, he was eager to see what manner of man he was. Ermino had already been told what an excellent fellow Guiglielmo Borsiere was, and since, for all his meanness, he still preserved a glimmer of civility, he received him very sociably, with cheerful countenance, and began to converse with him on various different topics. As they talked, he conveyed him, along with certain other Genoese who were present, to a splendid house he had recently caused to be built for his use. And having shown him all over the building, he said, "Well now, Guiglielmo, as one who has seen and heard many things in his time, could you perhaps suggest a thing that no man has ever seen, which I could commission to be painted in the main hall of this house of mine?" To which Guiglielmo, on hearing him talk in this unseemly fashion, replied, "Sir, I do not think I could suggest a thing that no man has ever seen, unless it were a fit of the sneezes or something of that sort. But, if you like, I can certainly suggest a thing I do not believe that you yourself have ever seen." "Eh?" said Ermino, who was not expecting the answer he was about to be given. "Then I beg you tell me, what is it?" Whereupon Guiglielmo promptly replied, "Let generosity be painted there." When Ermino heard this word, he was so overcome with shame that his character was suddenly and almost totally transformed. "Guiglielmo," he said, "I shall have it painted there in such a way that neither you nor anyone else will ever again have cause to tell me that I have not seen and known it." Guiglielmo's remark had such a potent effect upon Ermino that from that day forth he became the most courteous and generous gentleman in the Genoa of his time, and was respected above all others, not only by his fellow citizens, but by visitors to the city. And this ends the story. It seems kind of far-fetched, but there are actual examples of people who went from a reputation of miserliness to a reputation of generosity. One of the classic examples would be Rockefeller, who was known as, not only a brutal businessman, but also a very miserly fellow in his own right, but who embraced giving after a heartfelt conversation with his minister. But that's Rockefeller, and there are other examples. Rockefeller is probably the most obvious one. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the reading, and as soon as I can get back into my camera, I will stop it. Have a nice day. Goodbye.